All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcus Flores. I'm the founder and executive director of the Parkville Living Center. And I want to welcome all of our candidates and our community to tonight's Community Town Hall Forum, candidate forum for Park Hill School Board candidates. Let's give a round of applause to our candidates. All right. Like I said, my name is Marcus, and this is the Parkville Living Center. I want to say thank you. Gratitude is the first and foremost in my mind. I want to say thank you to the candidates. Thank you to the participants or to the audience. Participating in this civic engagement is a responsibility that we have. And I can see that it's taken seriously by the people that are here, both online and in person, and especially those running for this position. So I look for all ways that the community can support this type of endeavor, which is why we hold community town hall forums. At the Parkville Living Center, we're always looking for ways to engage the community and match community needs and resources. And so we wouldn't exist without the community. So if you have ideas, needs, or resources, ways to come together, please come to the Living Center and let's discuss those ideas and let's build more community. But for tonight, I'm here to turn the mic over to our candidates. So the forum today will be 3 presentations by our candidates, followed by a round of question and answers by our in-person audience. I'll be walking around with a microphone, and although we may be able to hear each other fine by talking loudly, I still need the microphone in order for our online world to hear us as well. So I'll be walking around with a microphone at the Q&A portion. And you guys did not come to hear me. So let me turn this over. We'll start at the left and introduce Sadie Peterson.
Okay. These out.
Oh, let me get the right.
Oh. All right. Well, I'm Sadie Peterson. Here's a little bit about myself. I once attended Park Hills Health High School in the district, and now I have 1 graduate, 1 getting ready to graduate, and 1 a couple years out from it. I love my community. I want to see it thrive. I run and operate a business here, technically right outside of Parkville, but in the district, and I employ a large handful of district students here. So my ties are really strong here to the community. I lead with logic, integrity, kindness, empathy, and I thrive to help educate the young adults under my employment and get them ready for the real world. A lot of them, it's their first job, so I want to be able to help them communicate effectively, advocate for themselves, and do well in the business world. So when they go out and get, jobs in the real world, they know how to do that for themselves. I pride myself on being a mother first. I have 3 kids. I want to make a difference in their lives, and I want to be an example to them, which is another reason that I'm here today. Most likely you'll see me in my bakery. This is my first day off in a very long time that I haven't been in my bakery. The other place you can find me is on the soccer fields. I'm always cheering on my 2 daughters. I'm about as real and raw as they come. I'm pretty plain Jane, which is why you see me in this outfit today. I want people to know what I look like when I'm out in the real world, so you can approach me and say, hey, let's have a conversation about this. I have questions for you. You'll find me looking like this. As far as somebody who runs a business in the community, I also want to share how I run my business so you can understand how that would translate into being elected into the school board. I'm fair. I'm very hardworking. I learn fast. I'm adaptable. I'm relatable. I don't micromanage. I'm not afraid of compromise. In fact, the art of compromise is something I pride myself on. I want to find common ground and make everything work for everybody. So that's not who I am only as a leader, but as a person. I like to resolve conflict and find a way to make everybody happy, if at all possible. As a parent, I'm a mother who has no issues apologizing to my kids when I'm wrong, when I've messed up, because we're all human. I expect that in return, not only from my children, but everybody who's in my life. We all need to be held accountable and own our wrongs and make it right. I've always told my kids, every choice has consequences, good, bad, or indifferent. My idea of successful parenting is producing kids that become adults that are hardworking, honest, kind, reliable, and accountable. So my why am I running? As previously stated, I love my community and my roots here are long and strong. I've seen our district morph into one that is not 100% representative of the students, families, and groups that I have grown to know and love in this district. When I saw that the other two candidates running shared pretty much the same values, I felt like, okay, we need somebody that's just slightly opposing or maybe a little more opposing so we can have more logic on the board. And so we can come together and make sure that every voice in the district is heard and not just one viewpoint. I think that we need to find more unity as a board so we can serve our community and our district better. I really feel like having more diversity on the board is the greatest thing. And it's not just diversity in the traditional sense, diversity in ideas. And if we can achieve that, I feel like our district can go back to the powerhouse that it once was. My hope, if elected, is to find the middle ground and be more inclusive of the voices of the entire district. A school board member is an advocate. Therefore, they are an advocate to parents, students, administrators, and educators. They need to see every side of all situations and make the best decisions for the short and long-term goals. And the best way to achieve that is to make sure that every voice is heard. The only agenda that I have here is to see that those voices are heard and that the district is considered in all of these situations as a whole, not just one side. This brings me to my platforms. My first one is parent rights. As parents, we should be a partner in our children's education. But as the years go by, this is less and less apparent in our district. We are expected to hand over our children for hours upon hours on every day. And yet we don't have much say in their curriculum and what is being taught to them. With that being said, in our curriculum, in the past years, we've introduced DEI into our curriculum. Not everybody understands what that is. Not everybody agrees with it. My personal beliefs, why do we have DEI in schools when we already have the 14th Amendment? The 14th Amendment already puts forth what DEI is supposed to be implementing in our schools. For parents who don't agree with it or don't understand it, their options are limited. Not everybody can afford to move out of the district. Not everybody can afford to send their kids to a private school. Not everybody can afford to homeschool. So the parents that don't have those options are limited and pretty much stuck with the status quo. In addition to curriculum issues, parents not having 100% access to their children when wanted or needed is another issue. I'm not debating having secured entry. I think that the secured entry, the way we have it, is perfect. I think that safety is the #1 priority. So please do not misconstrue this. It has nothing to do with secured entry in every building. What I'm saying is parents should have more access to their children if they have a child in the building. Here's an example a concerned parent came to me today with. A mother calls Gerner to schedule a screening for her son. She is simply trying to utilize the district resources for her non-school age child so he can get the intervention needed. Mom was informed that she was to meet the teacher/screener outside the front doors and wait in the parking lot until they called her to meet them back at the front doors for her child after they were done. She was not allowed even into the office, into the vestibule. She was allowed at the front doors and then had to go sit in the parking lot. I'm sorry, but what parent in their right mind would want to send their 2-year-old child into a building full of strangers and go sit in the parking lot and wait for their child to be returned to them outside of that. I'm sorry, any parent's going to be very, very questionable of this. The caveat on this, in the very same time frame, I was allowed to go hit the buzzer and granted entry into this very same building and deliver goods to the office. Granted, I never got past the office. They never once questioned me. They never once asked for my ID. I said I was there for a delivery. She couldn't even gain access to the front vestibule, but I was allowed to go right into the office and deliver goods. In addition, I've had my own issues from 2018 to 2021 when my son had a medical emergency and ended up missing a semester of school. Once he was able to return to school, had I not been able to advocate for his IEP, 504 plan, and his general well-being, he would have never been able to graduate successfully or on time with his class. Then when his senior year arrived, so did the pandemic. I was fighting tooth and nail to ensure that his IEP and his 504 plan stayed in place. Not once was it considered what he needed as somebody with extra needs. Parents were only given the choice of in-school hybrid or online with no consideration for what was best for students' mental status or education, let alone the students, again, that need extra help. In spring 2021 semester, when students went back full-time, my son's IEP and 504 plan were thrown out the window. I had to go in and fight tooth and nail to get his 504 plan, which is federally mandated medical needs and medical considerations for any children. And I had to go above both the school board and the state level to make sure this was enforced. It took me weeks to make sure that he was taken care of and safe medically. And mind you, he was 18 years old, but I was still trying to advocate for my son and for others who were in this situation. Speaking of the 2020/2021 school year, we had to advocate for our students to be able to participate in sports and other extracurriculars. In this instance, I'm going to talk about sports because this related to my nephew and my daughters alike. I was among a sizable group of parents protesting the Platte County Health Department and a part of a movement called Let Them Play. Why do I mention this? Well, my determination to advocate for the student athletes helped them to be able to play again. This was my daughter's freshman year. And all she wanted to do was play high school soccer. Fast forward to today. She's a senior and has earned herself an academic and athletic scholarship to Graceland University in Iowa. Had I not advocated and made my voice heard, she may not have had the opportunity to be able to do this. She, along with many others, are lucky to have parents that don't take no for an answer, and I intend on making sure parents will be heard. In accordance to parents being heard, I am also an advocate for enforcing our zero tolerance bullying policy. Not enough is being done for students that are being bullied and labeled. Social emotional education does nothing if policies are not enforced, and not only enforced, but consistently. For decades now, our administration and board have not made this a priority. District safety should be a number-one priority, which includes physical, emotional, and mentally safe. I personally knew two students who are no longer with us because they were incessantly bullied at both of our high schools. And they succumbed to substance abuse issues. I'm sorry, I get choked up at this point. And resulted in suicide because our district could not enforce our policies and enforce them consistently. In conclusion, I feel like our district needs to get back to a more traditional education and not focus on social trends disguised as education. There needs to be more accountability in policies across the district to ensure every student and staff member feels safe to be here. We need to reprioritize how we get this done successfully and compromise for the better of our district. In my perfect world, we would be able to find a balance between traditional education and what our students need in today's world. And we would also have parents be more engaged in this process. Thank you for listening and for your time. It has been a privilege to be able to come and speak to you today.
Thank you very much. And now we'll hear from Harrison Todd.
Hello, I'm Harrison Todd, and I'm running for the school board, the Park Hill School Board, as you can tell. Being up here. Oh. Is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Perfect. So, like I mentioned, my name is Harrison Todd, and I'm running for the Park Hill School Board. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself, I'm originally from Salina, Kansas, and I graduated from Salina South High School there. And from there, I went on to Kansas State University, where I earned degrees in history and German. After completing my bachelor's degrees, I went on to complete my master's in German. After that, went on to Washington University in St. Louis, where I did some PhD level work in German literatures. During my time teaching, at Kansas State University and Washington University, instructing graduate level courses, or I'm sorry, as a graduate instructor, undergraduate level courses in German. I really developed a firm sense of how important education is in our society. I got the opportunity to interact with a diverse array of people and instructed in a diverse array of topics. I am running for school board first and foremost because I believe in the power of community. And I know that one of the core pillars of community is public education. What could be more central to identifying ourselves and our values as a community than in preparing our students for the bright futures that we imagine with our heads and hope for with our hearts? Public education system should simultaneously prepare our students to overcome the risks of the imagined future and find joy and fulfillment in a world we can't yet know. In this undertaking, the Park Hill School District excels. Excellence, however, only remains excellent when it is tested, maintained, and adapted. I am asking to be elected to the Park Hill School Board because I want to help support Park Hill's excellence in our community's progress. I have seen our district take great strides in ensuring that Park Hill students and stakeholders feel a sense of co-ownership and belonging. I have seen the district open pathways to the classroom for alternatively certified educators who bring unique perspectives. I have seen Park Hill offer a diverse array of extracurricular opportunities that strengthen the bonds of community. I have seen these endeavors and want this work to continue. I also want to expand the work by ensuring each school in Park Hill is equitably resourced, that the bonds of community that already tie Park Hill together are deepened through shared purpose, and that Park Hill teachers and students alike can rely on fair accountability practices. I want to see Park Hill, or I've seen Park Hill emphasize the recruitment and retention of a diverse array of teachers and staff who bring a myriad of skills, perspectives, and potentials. These essentially comprise my four main campaigns. First, fair resources. Second, district cohesion. Third, fair accountability practices. And fourth, an emphasis on teacher recruitment and retention policies. Fair resourcing means more than just maintaining and managing a healthy budget. It also means that funds and resources are equitably distributed throughout the district to ensure that each student's needs are met and that the district continues to shrink the opportunity gap. Fair resourcing doesn't just apply to funds. It also applies to what is taught and how teaching happens within the district. Our curricula should reflect the diverse backgrounds and experiences of our students and families, and our teaching practices should be flexible enough to meet our students where they are at, so that the district can help our students grow to be engaged members of our community. Not all students' needs are the same, and as such, it is important that every student has access to the resources they need to learn. Ensuring equitable access to district resources also engenders a sense of belonging in students and stakeholders that deepens the bonds of community from which we all profit. My second point, district cohesion. really has a lot to do with fostering consistent collaboration amongst our schools, our parents, and the wider community as a whole. It means promoting initiatives that strengthen our sense of unity and shared purpose throughout the district. As we look at our district with its 11 elementary schools, soon to be 12, the Gerner Early Childhood Center, 2 high schools, 4 middle schools, the Lead Innovation Studio, and the Russell Jones Center, we see incredible diversity and richness. But with that diversity comes a unique opportunity to come together as one, to support each other, and to learn from them. This matters to me because I believe any community, especially one like our Park Hills school community, is greater than the sum of its parts, and it's greatest when those parts leverage transparency and collaboration to move in unison towards shared goals. When we work together, educators, parents, students, and community members, we can achieve remarkable things. We can create an environment where every child feels valued, supported, and inspired to reach their full potential. So I'm committed to promoting collaboration, fostering unity, and ensuring that every voice is heard. Together, let's build a district where every child thrives and where our community stands strong, united in purpose and dedication to our children's future. Third, my third point, fair accountability, means taking a holistic approach to evaluation, one that recognizes the unique talents and challenges of both students and teachers alike. As someone who strongly supports our educators, someone with educators throughout my family, and someone who believes in the power of education to transform lives, I know that the dedication and hard work that goes into teaching. That's why I'm passionate about promoting fair and supportive evaluation practices that empower our teachers to continue growing the skills they need to effectively educate in an ever-changing environment. Every student deserves the opportunity to thrive, and every teacher deserves recognition for their contributions. Together, let's ensure that our education system reflects these values of fairness and excellence. Finally, my fourth point, teacher recruitment and retention, is about more than just filling vacancies. It's about attracting the strongest professionals, supporting them through every stage of their career, and ultimately empowering and supporting our teachers to be the very best they can. To meet these aims, we must continue to provide professional development opportunities that empower teachers with a diverse and dynamic set of instructional methods. Our classrooms are evolving, and our teachers need authentic, applicable tools and resources that can help them meet the needs of today's learners. Moreover, teachers need the time and systemic structures to engage in these learning experiences seamlessly, consistently, and in a way that feels genuinely applicable. Park Hill has many system-wide ongoing supports that address the mental, physical, and professional well-being of our educators. Teaching can be incredibly rewarding, but it can also be incredibly challenging. We owe it to our teachers to ensure that they have the support they need to thrive. And let's not forget about hiring practices. It's essential that we achieve representative parity between our district staff and the student body they serve. Our students deserve to see themselves reflected in the adults who guide and support them in their work. I really appreciate the time that you've given me today to listen to me speak, and I hope to see you at the polls on April 2nd.
All right, thank you all. We're doing really well. And our last speaker will be Brandy Woodley.
Good evening, everyone. I was over there editing and cutting down my speech because I want to definitely hear from our community than just talking so much about me. As you can go to my website, brandywoodley4phsd.com, and kind of see the things I've done over the last 3 years. So I'm Brandy Woodley, current president of the Park Hill School District Board of Education, in my 3rd year being on the board. And it has been a very tough yet rewarding experience being on the board. Something that I would never, if I had a chance to do it over again, I would still do it. So a little bit about me, quickly. Grew up in the North Kansas City School District and over Winnetonka High School, graduated I have three daughters gone through Park Hill School District. One is a graduate from Park Hill South, currently at K-State, and my twins will be seniors next year at Park Hill South. Previously coming back to our area, I was an Army wife and well, still am, I guess you say retired. But that moved around with my daughters to different schools. I substitute taught at in DeRidder, Louisiana, as well as in Hawaii. And my last stint in Hawaii, I did almost 2 years working with the sped students. And it was that experience that allowed me and kind of ignited my love for public education and to see where I could go from my international business and human resources degrees and experience into public education. In 2021, I ran for school board. I had no idea exactly what the school board did because I came back to our area and I just wanted to focus on getting settled, retire from the military, get my girls in school and be a supportive mom and start working. But there was a group that reached out on Facebook and they were saying that over the years, there has not been representation on the Park Hill School District Board of Education. And it's was needed. And I thought about it, I prayed about it, I reached out, talked to my family and different people of like, should I do this? Because I knew it was an undertaking, a lot of time commitment, a lot of studying, just going out of my element, out of my comfort zone. But in my heart of hearts, I knew it was something that I had to do. And so I was elected in 2021 as the first African-American ever woman to be on the board and possibly elected in Platte County. We're still looking into that information. Some of the things I did my first term, still in my first term, but first year, I was an MSBA delegate, alternate, worked through the process of hiring our current superintendent, Dr. Mike Kimbrough. Attended the March 2022 MSBA Legislative Day in Jeff City, where we're able to meet with all legislators and get to interact with not just the legislators, but other district leadership from across Missouri. I was also, still a parent on the Park Hill South DEIB Family Advisory Council. My second year, I was voted in as Park Hill Board Treasurer on the exec board. I completed my MSBA Advanced Board Member Certification as well as my Master Board Certification. And within that, that required me to do some reading that was on a list for the Missouri School Board Association. The books that I picked out were Culturally Responsive Teaching and The Brain, which is a book that's been used in our district since 2015 and still being used. The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and that's something that our cabinet and our superintendent has been using as far as creating strategies, collaborating things, and things from the community, things that are necessary for public education to make Park Hill's curriculum, our initiatives, and our programs all work together. The other one was Blind Spot, that dealt with just learning about biases, things that educators go through to learn more, to be able to connect better with students and to be better teachers. And the last one was Columbine, was a true crime story. So I was able to read about what students went through, what parents went through, and the necessity of being proactive for the safety of our students, as well as their well-being, being able to check in. So let's see what else. Work with the band at the school. My other job, my paying job, is the editor for the Department of Military History at the Command and General Staff College in Fort Leavenworth. And I've also taken on become a certified Women, Peace and Security Gender Focal Point, where I'm learning to be able to advocate for things. Well, with the military and history, it's always been a really male focus. And so therefore I'm working with the curriculum within the military history department, but also advocating for more female mentoring and morale programs to encourage women to be themselves, to work towards their promotions, to be able to take leadership and command in various roles within the military. And I'm also on the advisory committee for Northwest Missouri State University's board, business board. All right, board work now. And why I am running. In this great district, our vision promises that we are building successful futures for each student every day. Is that each student language that has kept me persevering during the tough moments of my term and the overall reason why I'm running for re-election. Since 2021, I have seen tremendous and intentional work started, progressing and completed towards a sense of belonging, equity, and rigorous learning. Making the motion to approve the Park Hill School District's DEIB drivers and narratives, and having the board unanimously approve them. And then finally having them implemented into the comprehensive school improvement plan, which is the guiding document for our district. It highlights the need as well as what our community wants. That foundation will spill over and thread into the long-range planning that our district is going through now to address the facilities, the needs, and the concerns of our community. It will also enhance the AVID program, culturally responsive education, multi-tier systems of support, and restorative practices that are already being deployed through our district. All of this work stemming from our community input and voice is to support student learning and equip teachers to create a more effective learning environment. Our stakeholders, and specifically our taxpayers, have spoken with their vote to pass bonds to better Park Hill facilities and learning environments. Utilizing approved criteria to maintain accountability to our community's desires, I plan to work with fellow board members and district leadership to come up with best solutions and timelines to move the district forward and make our community Park Hill proud. So I'm running to ensure Park Hill students receive excellent education, continue and increase engagement and voice from all stakeholders within our district, to broaden wellness and mental health support as a priority for our students and staff, for a stronger voice and representation for the underrepresented of all backgrounds and needs, to foster accountability for our culturally responsive education and student group academic achievement tracking, and continue to build legacy work with our DEIB councils, which are in every school building in this district. So my platform, I thought about changing them this year from 2021. However, I just couldn't figure out a way to do that because they were still applicable. So excellence through equity, excellence through belonging, and excellence through rigorous learning. On my website, you can go and read kind of an explanation of what I what I believe are those pillars and what makes up those pillars. So I invite you to do that. I want to make sure we have time to listen to our audience and hear from our community. So again, I ask you to vote for me April 2nd. I am a Park Hill NEA endorsed candidate as well as Harrison. And we went through that interview process, and the teachers want us to be able to represent them on the board. Thank you.
My name is Elisa. I just have a question. In all speeches we talked a lot about DEI or DEIB. And some were champions for it, and some thought that our students did not need that. So I was to ask if you could define DEIB for me.
Well, I'll start off. DEIB is diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. And within diversity, it isn't just about race, religion, ethnicity. It is about every single aspect, every single characteristic, every single learning ability that makes up that individual, their preferences, their background, all those things. That's what makes us a better community. It makes you have the ability to learn from each other when you are able to plug in and learn about that with either in curriculum or from the person sitting next to you or your teacher.
I was just gonna say, I absolutely agree with that definition. That definition is spot on. It's not that I don't believe we don't need that. I believe that our school board and our administration has not employed it very well and translate it very well to our students. That goes back to what I said about anti-bullying, our zero tolerance bullying policy. If we are going to run around like the purge and have no accountability and consistency in employing our policies when it comes to how we treat others in our community and in our schools, no amount of any education is going to do any good. You can sit there and educate somebody on how to be kind all you want, but when somebody's unkind and is not held accountable for their actions, then that education goes in one ear and out the other.
And I would say, just to add on to that real quick, sorry, Harrison, that the restorative practices is also something that's rolling out, which is going to definitely reach and flow into that. But every program takes time, as I've have learned being on the board that you want things to happen immediately, but if you go slower to make sure that everybody comes on board, everybody has that understanding, as you kind of alluded to, yeah, then that makes sure that it's going to be a fiber within the district and the initiative.
No, absolutely. I again agree completely with the definition of DEIB. So diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. It's really important that we accept that DEIB is just part of the fabric of education. It's something that needs to be woven into the district. And
Yeah, no, you're good.
oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So as I was saying, I agree absolutely with the definition, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. And what I was saying was that I believe fully that the EIB work needs to be integral to the fabric of education, that it needs to flow through every part of the district and its programs, its education, its advocacy.
And one thing that the Park Hill School District did, and because I was on the council to work for the DEIB on the council and everything, we had 750 responses when they talked to the community, asked for from the community forums, what do you want to see? What do you want to see started? What do you want to see stopped? What do you want to see continued and maintained in the district within DEIB? And so we heard from families, teachers, students, and from all of those responses, that's how they define Park Hill's definition of DEIB, as well as some other language, which can be found, of course, on the website. But it may vary if you look up the definition just on any kind of website outside of Park Hill, but Park Hill has defined it based on what the community responses were and what the needs were.
Thank you. All right. There you go.
Hi, my name is Edina Robinson. And Sadie, when you were speaking, introducing yourself, and you did a really nice job of kind of introducing who you were and all that, and I appreciate that. But you talked about how not all families were behind DEI, and then you talked about how we have the 14th Amendment. And then when you were talking about the whole kind of the bullying and that thing, and if policies aren't enforced, then it's no good. That's the same thing with DEI and the 14th Amendment. Yeah, we have the 14th Amendment, but if there's nothing behind it to enforce it, it's just words on paper. And with that,
agree with that.
okay. And so I guess I'm going to ask you then yes, my question is, what then would you do if you were to get on the board? Would you roll back some of that DEI language and policies, or what exactly would you do with that?
I wouldn't necessarily say roll back, because I do agree. This is on, right? I feel like I'm also yelling. Yeah. I feel like I'm yelling. I yell in my household. I'm actually the quietest one in my household. I absolutely agree with having the diversity, equity, and inclusion and belonging. That I think that that's something, to me, that just goes back to the golden rule. So rolling back, not necessarily rolling back, but I do feel like some of the ways that is employed on the classroom level with some teachers, just like in any situation in life, some take it too far, some don't understand how to teach it. I feel like we need to figure out how to better translate it to the students and better translate it to the teachers so they can teach it. And it's not something that is just, I know some students that I've talked to that are seniors in high school this year, they feel like it's inclusion at the price of excluding other groups at times. And so with that being said, is that because the teachers aren't portraying it? Is that because the certain curriculums that we're using are not fitting for our students in our community? What do we need to do to cater to the entire community and not just keep pushing an idea that most believe in, but not all? You know, one size fits most is not one size fits all. So we need to figure out how to cater better to our entire student and staff body.
All right. Thank you. Another question here.
My name is Carrie. I have several questions, but I'll do one at a time so that other people can get theirs answered. And if we have time, we'll come back. So I'm a parent in the school district. My boys are the 5th generation to live on our property, the 4th generation to attend Park Hill schools. And that should actually be amended to say attended Park Hill School District. My boys no longer attend Park Hill School District. I have 2 boys who are both autistic. My oldest, we removed from the school district. My youngest was actually the child that Sadie spoke about that they wanted me to hand my 2.5-year-old nonverbal autistic child through the corridors and not have any say on his evaluations and things like that. However, my concerns are probably more so for my older child who is a sophomore this year. We pulled him out when he was in 7th grade. And obviously, like DEI wasn't as big of a conversation then, but I think there are a lot of families within the district who we are all for diversity and inclusion and belonging, but we are not seeing that spread equally across our student body. There are students that, for example, because my child is a special needs child, in the lunchroom, him and another boy, as 13-year-old boys who I jokingly say don't have 2 brain cells to rub together, were joking about their milk. And one boy said to my son, "I like my girls like my milk, thick and dark." And he was referring to chocolate milk. My son, again, 13, autistic, said, "I like my girls like my milk, white." My son was suspended from school because of his comments, while the other child was not. And he was at Walden, which I thought was interesting because I saw that you were on the advisory board for Mrs. Woodley, for that school. So my questions, I guess, would be, if we're going to continue with diversity and inclusion and belonging, how can we make that equitable for all of our student body and not hold some students to a higher standard than we're holding other students to?
Yes, I was just in a parent capacity on the advisory board for Walden, because my students were there. Being on the board, it's a different view of what's going on, and people expect that the board is able to come into a building and say, "You're doing this wrong," or, you need to move that person out of there, or you need to help this child and do that. That's not the role of a board member. But I do understand, and I've heard that. And we know that there are certain schools that have increasing populations that need more supports, need more social workers everywhere to be able to support those students who have 504s and IEPs and other learning abilities that need attention. And I have my students, they come home with stories, and I'm still blown away, like, that really happened. But you only have so many adults, certified teachers, staff support, and everything else that can be everywhere. And it's up to our community to work to educate and to help decrease that unkindness, the bullying, and to increase the understanding and the education. And so that's one reason I am running again, is to make sure that we're going to keep pushing that through. It starts at our principals. I've learned that, not every building does things the same. I wish we had that consistency throughout, but when you become a principal, that's your building. And so I've addressed to the superintendent, because that's my employee as a board member, what's going on over at Lakeview? Did I hear about a student going through something that, like you said, that was unfair, how the punishments were given out? And I've talked to them, and so they're to look into that. But we can't, as a board, police those things, but I'm definitely being a voice to speak up. And I think that's what I can do. And not just one time, not just 2 times, but to continue until I see things change throughout every building in our district.
Thank you. Another question?
Hi, I'm Emily Alford. I have a graduate out of the school district, and I have a student that would be a junior. But during COVID and for the last few years, we're actually out of it a little bit. That child was in a major mental health crisis and struggling through just being able to get through the day and through staying in school. I will say that actually we were through Walden and Park Hill South, and I commend the staff and teachers and counselors that we worked with. They were extremely supportive. So I do want to say that. But kind of where we ended up in my child's situation was the need of an alternative kind of continuing on education. And we found one where they were able to take one class at a time. It didn't have to be on a semester schedule. And that was extremely beneficial, but we were super sad to actually pull out of the school district because of all of the other pieces. So my question for the three of you is, as our understanding of education, as our understanding of our world and changing world continues, where do you see in a perfect setup where we could change things quickly and we didn't have to go through bureaucracy of bits, of ways to grow our education system to be able to, and kind of what would you see of how to make that better and be out there for more students and more individual student needs of how they need education, but still stay part of the school district?
Well, this definitely starts with social services and what we can do to get resources for students. And the thing is I think we can all agree, again, one size fits most is not one size fits all. So we need to make sure we have a plethora of resources so we can have maybe alternative methods of education that, I know growing up, there was other alternative high schools within districts. I know Russell Jones is somewhat to that capacity, but we need to have something that's a little more, that caters more to mental health. Unfortunately, this goes to the state of our country, and I think we can all agree that the mental health care in our country just stinks. And so trying to find a way to do that on a local level, like we are trying to do running on a local level here, is figuring out how to utilize maybe more state and federal funds for these resources and hunting down these grants and giving our social workers in the district the maybe more access to money to be able to open up programs like this so we can do that. In my perfect world, that's what I would want to do. That's how I would approach it.
So I know that Park Hill is already starting with some different ways of approaching instruction. When you take a look at Lead Innovation Studio, for example, it doesn't follow necessarily the exact same trajectory as a traditional high school. I seem to have problems with my microphone today. It is really important. So going back to what we were talking about with DEIB earlier, the EIB really touches everything from socioeconomic status to mental health to alternative needs to ethnicity. Every part fits into DEIB. Really making sure that we meet students where they're at, and that Park Hill can find a way to engage with students who need those alternative supports is critical. What that looks like exactly, I'm not sure. That's something that I will need to learn more about. But I am committed to making sure that Park Hill is doing everything that it can to ensure that we are meeting students where they're at and that we're able to provide them the supports that they need in order to become educated, to get those learning experiences and to have those social experiences that are part of the public education system also.
Money. It comes down to having the resources to pay our qualified social workers, our teachers, support staff, the teachers' assistants to be able to come every day and to be able to deal with the behavioral issues that pop up. Because if you're not getting paid enough, you're not, you don't have a school calendar that supports that, or having the ability to have time away to rejuvenate and have that mental health break and to come back and be wellness, to come back to that classroom to help. We need the money to be able to pay people well. And we need the labor. We don't have enough people to come in and do what needs to be done. And so that pulls at my heart a lot because those are hard pieces, but would love for, like I said, he's touched on, we need our federal and our state to step up and do better things, to be able to fund resources, programs, and teacher pay, all those things, so that our students have what they need. Because right now, there could be much more being done and is needed.
Thank you. I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege and ask my question right now. My question is, what metrics do you use to measure the success of the organization that you govern? Starting at the left, I guess, since you have experience.
Funny that you say metrics, because since Dr. Kimbrell's come on board as superintendent, there are tons, we call it scoreboard, where we can dig into based on our CSIP program and the objectives and the goals that are set with all those goals. With all those objectives, there are metrics that are within there tied to data from either a testing, from surveys, from students, from teachers, all that builds up to where we're at. And we just had a presentation, I think 2 board meetings ago, that we went over and highlighted some of the things of where we're at. It's a lot of data, and thank God we have somebody on Dr. Marcus Wright, who is great at delivering the data, digging into that. So, and helping our teachers to be able to, at their own buildings, dig into that data so they can go to each student and see where they're progressing, where they're not, the gaps that are there, and how to help those students to be able to get to where they need to be. Those students who are progressing okay, where are we challenging them? And so, but it all comes from data and looking at those metrics, as you mentioned, so that at any point in time, we should be able to look or ask a principal, ask a district leadership, where are we at on this? And they should be able to kind of, spit out that information for us, because the metrics are in place. And the board, we do continually ask about certain things that we may not see moving along as we would like. And so those are the areas that the district knows that we need to continue to work on and make sure that they provide not only the board, but our public, the information, so that everybody is informed of what's going on.
And the metrics Brandy was just speaking about, as you mentioned, it comes from testing, it comes from surveys, it comes from a lot of different places. And I know, having attended the last several board meetings for the last several months, the Dr. Fryatt, Dr. Kimbrell, the Park Hill staff really do a great job of presenting that information. And I would so one of the really neat things that Park Hill does is that it actually streams each of the board meetings. And I would like to invite anybody who's interested to go back and check those YouTube videos to see what Dr. Fryatt, Dr. Kimbrell, Dr. Bridewell, all the individuals on the staff are talking about. It's really quite interesting.
For me, I guess, in accordance with school board stuff, I would look at enrollment numbers. I would look at it from year to year and see if enrollment is up or is it rapidly declining over the years. I would look at employee retention. Are we retaining our employees? Are we getting quality employees? Are we getting desperate and hiring just about anybody who walks through the door because we can't keep employees in the door? As a business owner myself, this is something I would look at. The other thing would be testing and educational scores. When I was in the Park Hill School District, we were a powerhouse in the state, and here now we are falling in math, reading and writing, and science. And so to me, I feel like those are the metrics that I would define success or failure by.
Right. Back to the audience. Here you go.
My name is Jessica, and I have a question. It's kind of pointed at Todd just because you mentioned it in your platform, but I'd be interested in what Ms. Woodley has to say as well.
You say that you're running on a platform of unity and cohesion, and you want to make sure that every voice is heard. I've seen specifically since about the pandemic time, since about 2020 or so, as a conservative, I've seen our dissenting voices being squelched more and more progressively. So if you're elected to a board that does not reflect the half or so of students and teachers and parents in the district who are conservatives, how will you defend our voices, ensure that we aren't simply being quieted in the illusion of unity coming from an extremely liberal standpoint on the board?
One of the really interesting things about the Park Hill board also is that members of the public have the opportunity to register beforehand, to have time to speak before the board. I know that in the last several months, there haven't been any speakers who have come to the board. But the opportunity is there for individuals to come and speak.
And I would just add on to that we've had community forums for people to come and either through the DEIB forums, we've had Parkco 2034, and Parkco 2034, the first meeting we had, there were maybe 7 committee members there. The second one was like 3 people. And I kind of live for, community engagement and to hearing from people, but if people don't come out, people don't engage in the surveys or have input, we don't know. And we do have varying perspectives already on the board. But I agree, we have to hear from all voices, otherwise we can't govern accordingly. So.
Thank you. Okay. Stanford University economist, so going back to metrics, Stanford University economist Thomas D. found enrollment in Missouri schools has been in decline drastically year over year, with a steady decline of over 2%, accounting to thousands of students. Do you think that this is because, according to the niche school ratings, that 40% of Park Hill School District students are at least proficient in math and 54% in reading? And how is that in accordance to the school's successful futures goals?
Is that clear? Yeah. You want to, yes?
Somewhat, yeah.
Rephrase.
Definitely. Okay. So there's a lot of conversation about how we want successful futures and how can we attain that when we are seeing a steady decline in parents who feel like the district is failing our students, and not only just feeling, but we have statistical data to back up that our students are failing and not being, I know like as a country, the United States is in a decline educationally compared to other countries. How can Park Hill School District be the change in that?
I believe we're doing it. I mean, in the last, as I mentioned before about the last presentation that we had covering where we're at in the different grades, and we did see the mark where we're not at and where things dip down. We all say that COVID had an issue with that, because it also, there's behavior things that go along with that. And I strongly believe that we're making changes, but it's an issue of having teachers again there in the classroom and consistent there, that people are not leaving. That's why we're working on retention and retaining the teachers. There are more, we keep pushing for the multi-tier supports as a system. So we're trying to make sure that we have those things in place for our students to be able to, again, go back to the test scores. What are we not doing? What are we not meeting? What are those students' needs? And then continue to wrap around them. But like you said, it's across our nation, unfortunately. I wasn't here in Park Hill when people said it was the good old days. I think we're now in our good days of Park Hill, because we are addressing and looking at everybody and working on programs that are helping students to build themselves and to figure out what they want to do, who they want to be, because there's so many different programs now with internships, there's different activities, so many different things that are making them be a whole child that is successful.
Absolutely. And so as far as enrollment numbers go, I know that there's been a bit of a stagnation recently. But I don't believe that there's actually been a drop in Park Hill numbers at least.
It's been stagnant, but next year I think they're even projecting maybe like 50 less students, but then Liberty as well, North Kansas City as well. I mean, all the districts are seeing these different drops. So it's not just Park Hill.
And this is a nationwide thing that's happening. It's not just in Missouri, but these numbers showing that there are drops. I know that just recently we had the data presented by the board, or to the board by the district, and the numbers I don't believe are showing a drop based on what was presented. Also, in terms of test scores, Park Hill consistently ranks amongst the top districts in the state of Missouri. And I really think that if we can build up those multi-tiered layer of supports that Brandy was referring to, that we can help support continued growth within the district.
All right, I'll come over here for a question. And I think what I'm hearing is about maybe some of the stuff that gets said at the school board. I don't know. I've never been to a meeting and I haven't seen these dashboards, and I'm really curious. So
6 o'clock tomorrow.
nah, but they're public, right? These dashboards. And so we can access them. Okay. And yeah, because, having those facts is important. So here's a question over here.
So we've heard each of you talk a lot about serving the community and specifically doing so by serving students. And I've heard teachers mentioned as well. I think everybody's talked about partnering with teachers or teacher recruitment and retention. I'm an educator and I work for the Park Hill School District. And so I just want to hear from each of you about how what you see as the ideal relationship between the school board and teachers, and what you see as the role of the school board in making that work happen and supporting teachers and making the district a place that Park Hill teachers want to come and stay.
I'm ready to jump on that one for you. Being friends with a lot of educators in the district, I know making sure that they have proper and safe facilities, making sure that the policies that we have back the teachers up and they feel like they have the support not only of the administrators in their building, but the administrators in the district. Making sure that there are fair policies. I'm not saying that there's not fair policies, but just making sure that the fair policies and that every voice is heard. I believe that having a diverse and extensive staff is good for representation for all of our students. And the best way to do that is to make sure that the teachers' voices are heard, that they get fair pay, that they're getting fair benefits, that they're getting up-to-date facilities, because I know that we have our project 2034. Is that been a long day? 2034 going on, and we have a lot of facility improvements going on. But I believe that the teachers that are in existing facilities deserve to make sure that certain updates are made. I know personally, I have the perspective from somebody who's married to somebody in construction that architects and engineers don't always have the teachers and the students in mind whenever they're designing projects and revamping stuff. And so having teachers have a bigger voice. I know that there is a committee of teachers whenever they go to do projects or new builds, but teachers just need to have more say in what kind of facilities they have in their classroom or in their pods or, their areas of instruction. So I think that maybe highlighting those committees a little better and making sure that everybody's voice is heard is more important to me. And I think that's the kind of relationship they should be able to have with the board members so that they know that they have that support and that foresight into the future, just short-term and long-term.
So I agree 100% that one of the most important things that Park Hill can offer is robust support for teachers and having competitive pay, competitive benefits for the teachers. I know at least in terms of the 2034 Park Hill 2034 project, right now, the architects are in talks with their teachers. They're having public or discussions within the schools, listening sessions with them, with the teachers currently. Making sure that there are those supports, those mental health supports, those teaching supports, making sure that teachers are empowered to do their best at work through continuous improvement, through professional development. All of those are really critical, and partnering with the NEA. I mean, the voice of the teachers in many ways is the teachers union, and making sure that we stay in contact with them and that we listen as board prospective members to teacher concerns.
And I'll agree as well as with pay and listening for voice. That's one thing that I believe that Park Hill is doing even more now. Community engagement is forefront on in our communications department, and that funnels down to our teachers as well as our students and families. But our teachers, they need to have an environment of that's where that belonging piece comes from, because if they feel like they are an intricate part of their building, the district, then they'll be more forthcoming with ideas or what's going on and or what PD they may need. But if they don't feel like their voice is going to be heard, which is that belonging piece, then they won't speak up. And I think there are a lot of the teachers that I've spoken to or who have spoken up in different capacities, or even the community forums, they have the best information to pass on to the board and to pass on to committees. And just last night, we had our DEIB council meeting, and we synthesized all the comments that came through from families and teachers. There were like, I won't say millions of slivers of comments, but we had to take all those and put them under the different drivers. And then we had to figure out, what are we going to do next with all of that input from our families, our students, and our teachers, and putting that into action, their voices. And so that community engagement, student engagement, and the teachers is very important, and it's being heard. And that's one thing as a board member, I can't say it enough that I don't think I could do a good job without hearing from our teachers and what's needed and what's going on. What's the best practices that we're going to be putting in place so that the education for all of our students, no matter the needs and no matter the backgrounds of what's going on, they have that. But our teachers need to feel supported. I know we've worked to change the calendar around. There are some teachers that can have hybrid work schedules based on whenever we have work days or, things are getting changed around. And so that they have that time to work from home, be with their families. And most of them, as I've heard from, they're more productive in a way because they're in their environment to be able to get that work done, maybe take a break and go play with their kids or whatever. It's there. And so Park Hill's trying to be innovative in those ways so that teachers feel supported. And again, go back to the belonging, go back to that voice.
Thank you. All right, we're going to just have one more question and then we'll wrap it up to respect the time. But I do want to say that I've seen some diverse opinions, and I love that their candidates can address them. And I feel like this is a glimpse of that representation that I heard you speaking of. And I'm excited to vote in 2 weeks, April 2nd. So here's for the last question of the night.
I have a twofold question about the DEI and the initiatives. As a conservative who is not a fan of the title or the term, I don't think any normally functioning conservative would say we don't want there to be diversity and inclusion, and not that we don't want our students to come out as well-rounded people who can love and respect people who look and talk and believe and feel different than they do. But I would say there are two schools of thought that don't agree with the concepts of DEI and B. One being the budgetary, in a time when we're saying we can't afford to do the mental health things that we need. We can't afford to keep our buildings up to snuff, which we're finally, thank heavens, doing with this Operation 2034. But we don't have the funds to do the things we need to do. And yet we are screaming so loudly about DEI and B and hiring consultants to do a multi-year plan. And as parents, we have no idea, is that a sliver of 0.5% of our budget, or is that taking up a huge chunk of budget that could be applied to student learnings and mental health and other issues? And then specifically to an area of it that is being shouted out loudly, and I apologize, I have forgotten the name of it, the restorative practices. Just looking at that as a concept, it seems to be a good, I don't know, behavioral management or community management, community development type program, but I've not found anything in literature about how that applies specifically to DEI as opposed to just teaching students to make amends or make recompense once they've made an error or, damaged somebody, hurt somebody. How as a community is that applied to the DEI movement? And I've not been able to find anything online about how that applies. So I would love to know educationally how that applies, and then also just budget wise, what percentage we're spending on DEI.
There's restorative practice, but there's also restorative justice. And got it. And the board is, we've had some information about restorative practices, and we're expecting, I think, of a presentation more about what that's about. There's been community forums that I've attended to learn more along with the community as well. And it's more of an initiative, a program, I guess you could say, I don't know which the proper word to call it, to help with students and, everybody in our community to work together better. I don't believe it's not really a DEIB under that umbrella. And I don't know if I'm correct in that, I'm an educator. But it's, I don't know, I just don't know how you would say well, this is not against you then, so I'll keep that to myself. But it's, as far as the budget, there are a lot of things budgeted for our students, which fall under, educational practices and things that are slotted for that. It's not like it's a huge amount that's taking away from our facilities. Right now, we're in the midst of, I believe there was things that probably should have been done way back. I don't know when you were in Park Hill, Sadie, but, I don't know what things should have been done maybe back then. Okay. Well, I'm talking about the whole district. Yeah, I'm just saying, there's things that need to be done and probably should have been addressed a while back, but here we are at this point, and it's going to take a lot of money to do what we need. And so I can't tell you off the top of my head what that amount is for that we have budgeted for. I think you're talking about Sophic Solutions, but they were contracted because there was a need, and there's money set aside for that in our budget. And Dr. Paul Kelly does a great job with forecasting things to be put in place for every piece of the district. And it's not just a DEI initiative that's kind of segregating people or students or teachers or whatever. This is something that's needed for everybody.
And to build a little bit off of what Brandy was just saying, DEIB is less of a thing that you do and more of a way that you do something. So it's not a separate thing. It's part of the method. As far as the facilities go, that Park Hill 2034 is this step in a 10-year plan. So that's something that is consistent, is typical for districts, and also for Park Hill in particular to have 10-year plans. Where right now we're just wrapping up, Park Hill is wrapping up the last 10-year plan and is getting ready to kick off into the next 10-year plan. So this is something that was expected, has been budgeted for, has been forecasted, and is something that happens consistently. It's not something that is just coming out of the blue. It's something that's already been planned for.
All right. Well, thank you for your answers. Thank you for your participation, your questions. We are going to cut tonight's forum off right now, but our candidates have websites or contact information that we can share, and we can continue these questions. And I love the forum, the public forum where these questions are asked, but with time and our lives, sometimes our questions are long. And so we can write to these elected members or these candidates and ask those questions and continue the relationship And I'm motivated, maybe not tomorrow, but one of these days to start going to the school board meetings and understanding the minutia of governance of what I can only imagine to be a very complex and broad resource within our community. So I just wanted to say thank you again to the candidates, because I do believe this was the only forum that all 3 candidates were at for this election cycle. And I also wanted to point out that the school board seats were the only contested seats on our ballot within the Park Hill municipality. So I encourage everybody to take a interest and communicate about civic engagement and have your voice heard through participating, running, and just like you did today, these forums as well. I know I've learned a lot, and I can only imagine that these candidates have a better understanding of the community in which they hope to serve. And so if we could just keep doing this on our daily, with our friends in our daily life, I think we'll be working towards building an understanding that is new, something that is new and shared. So, and also is a part of what we have been doing too. So I fully recognize that. So thank you all for your time. Let's give a round of applause to the candidates and to the audience for showing up. Thank you all. Voting is April 2nd. So please encourage everyone you know to come out and to vote, and we'll see how that goes on the 2nd. Thank you all.
Thank you, Park Hill,
I'm sorry.
thank you, Marcus and Parkville Living Center, for hosting this, as the traditional candidate forum was not available through the district PTA, but so really appreciative that Sadie and Harrison especially being able to, they're new, people were able to hear it from them and hear the views and what's going to be done. So thank you so much for hosting this.
Awesome. Have a good night. Thank you.